Mercedes-Benz have been extending their product lineup for well over 10 years. The CLA first came out in 2013 and was meant for, dare I say, under 30 youth. The 2018 CLA in this video is the first facelifted version, but the important question is, can it still keep up with its arch rival, the Audi A3 Saloon? Let's find out. But firstly, I'd like to give a big shout out to the owner of this car, Canon, for letting me review it. The private number plate is a big giveaway, but he owns a barbershop called K-Cuts and they've been shut down during the COVID-19 period. So it'd be greatly appreciated if you could give them a follow on Instagram. I will leave all their handles in the description box below. The model variant in front of me is the AMG line Night Edition Plus, and this car, in my opinion, comes pretty well spec'd from factory, as you get black mirror caps, tinted rear windows, slightly lowered suspension, and these 18-inch multi-spoke alloy wheels with this weird silver finish around the edge. But my favourite feature on pretty much every CLA are these frameless doors. Well, it's not really a feature, but nonetheless, I think they look super cool. When you put the window down, even with all the tech inside the door, it still feels pretty light to open and close. I think they're fantastic. Next up, we move over to the boot of the CLA, and surprisingly enough, there's a lot of space in the back of it. Mercedes have done a good job to make it usable, spacious, and you can fit large items in the back of it without much hassle. A bizarre thing to note though is on some models, you don't get it in this one, there is a locked cabinet on the back of the rear seats. Now I don't know what it's for, but can someone in the comment section down below let me know. As for the design for this segment, I have to say it is a very well shaped and superb looking car. This model here doesn't look that different from the very expensive CLA 45, but since this car is supposed to be coupe-like, I am slightly worried about the compromise they've made in the rear seats. And I was right, the sloping roofline in this car really does eat into headroom. It's pretty much non-existent. And for legroom, well, if you're a tall person, you're gonna hate sitting in the back of this car. I'm also disappointed by the fact that this car doesn't have any storage pockets on the front seats. However, the fact that there are some rear climate vents, it kind of does make up for it. But don't forget, this car is 34 odd grand new. You kind of are expecting more. Next up, the front half of the interior, and the overall quality in this car is respectable. There's a general mix of good and bad, but most things feel pleasant to touch. So for example, these Alcantara centered sporty seats with this red stitching, which can also be seen in this AMG like steering wheel. I think that looks pretty cool. In addition, I like these air vents with this aircraft turbine designed to them, and the way to turn them off is you have to turn them clockwise and then you'll hear a little click. Yep, and then vice versa if you want to turn it on and then let air through. Moving on, and if you are looking to buy a pre-17-18 reg Mercedes-Benz CLA, make sure to read through the spec sheet, as it will be an optional extra to opt for the reversing camera. And yes, that does go for the top of the line AMG variants as well, but nonetheless, the reversing camera in this car is pretty crisp and clear, and you do get two views to choose from.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So now let's go for a little drive in the CLA 200. And there's one thing I want to clear up. At the performance level, so the Audi RS3 and the CLA 45 AMG, I would rather go for the RS3 over the CLA 45 because it's 40 odd brake horsepower more and you get way more options as standard on the Audi. But you know, the regular diesels and the petrols, I would rather go for the CLA over the Audi A3 because Mercedes pulls an Uno reverse card and you actually get more brake horsepower in the CLAs than you do in the Audi A3. So this car has around 156 brake, and the Audi A3, similar engine, will have 154 brake horsepower. Same torque figures as well. The one thing I love about this car is the fact it lets you configure how you want to your driving style essentially through the drive select. So you've got a sport, comfort, individual, eco. I love that individual option because you don't really get that in many other cars. Although, just flicking through this infotainment system, I've just realized you don't get Apple CarPlay, and that's surprising since this car is a 2018. I'm shocked that you don't get Apple CarPlay in this new of a car. Nonetheless, in the right setting, the right weather, you know, whatever, all the correct conditions, this car can actually be a joy to drive. It's very comfortable, but that DCT transmission is just not good at low speeds. It's a bit clunky, but when you're getting up to pace, when you're shifting through the gears, it really does pick up. You get really bright xenon lights in this car, and also the rear lights as well, they are LEDs, which is great. To see that Mercedes haven't cheaped out on some halogen bulbs. When you are reversing this car as well, you get some almost like shift lights right up there and right behind the infotainment system, and they beep and light up when you get close to something, which is great. I think that's very unique to Mercedes. I haven't seen that in many other cars to date. Yeah, when you whack it into sport mode, it absolutely flies. It's not unbelievably quick, but it's quick. It's that transmission helps this car, and I think it's just the transmission is way too good for the car almost. I feel like the engine's just lacking, but the DCT transmission could hold up anything. In terms of visibility, it's not too bad. I mean, since you get a reversing camera, it's not that much of a hassle to maneuver this car. It's not that big, although at the back it looks very wide and planted to the road. If I was to ever go down the Mercedes CLA route, I would only ever get a CLA shooting brake, as that car it's so rare. I never see a CLA shooting brake going around. What I'm on about is the estate version, so guys, just to be clear. And that car, the shapes on that, the angles on that, it looks magnificent. And Audi don't do a RS3 estate, so there you go. I've got to admit though, the downfall with this car is the fact it's just so expensive. 20 grand, 21 grand, it's a lot of money. That could get you a performance vehicle for way less, in fact. In terms of the seats, well, they really do wrap you around. I'm sure if someone's slightly above average weight, they're gonna struggle with it, possibly, not too sure. But it's just a shame about the seating positions, just slightly too high. I am at the lowest position as well. Also, this car comes pretty well spec'd, as mentioned. You know, the Plus package gives you memory seats as well, and when you do spec a CLA properly, it can be a great car. It's just a shame the base level models, they just look crap. It's just, you're really getting scammed if you buy a base CLA. In terms of the sound, it's I would say more on the muted side, if anything. It is only a 1.6 litre petrol engine. A lot of people go for the A-Class over the CLA, and I do see a point for that, but if you just save a little bit more, there's only a couple of grand difference, I would definitely go for a CLA over an A-Class. The shape of it is way more better. In terms of the displays in front of me, they are super clear and crisp. I love the analog dials in the Mercedes. They can't get better. And it's a car that revs up to 6,000 RPM as well, so it ain't playing around. So that's the review of the 2018 Mercedes-Benz CLA 200. I love the fact that Mercedes have actually brought out this car, and it was a missing segment out their product lineup for new customers to get their foot into luxury car ownership. However, even after the facelift that they did in 2017, I feel like it just wasn't enough to, you know, top off that Audi A3. And there's always going to be at the back of your mind, should you have gone for the Audi, but it's always going to come down to personal preference at the end of the day, and my personal preference is this CLA.